Live. Ik heb hem voorbereid deze keer.
Miss Irene.
Well, she will be here soon.
Okay.
Hello, all you people on Facebook. It's coming up. It's coming up. Bloop, 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 bloop. That's I'm doing my bar. Hey there. Good morning. If you are in in my area, if you are in other areas in the world, it's good evening. Well, actually, it's good afternoon where I am, to be honest. This is Facebook Live with Jean and another episode at the same time. I'm doing lately. I'm doing on Tuesday. I'm doing like double recordings because I also record my podcast. Thrive, not survive after child abuse. So, guys, be aware that you are on my podcast, which is now broadcasted in many channels. So super proud. So do that. If you don't want to say anything, don't say anything. But if you do, you do. Hey,
Yeah,
Monique.
yeah. Hi.
Welcome. I like your sweater.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. We have a Dutch. How do you say that? A Dutch meeting today. Unfortunately, for my audience, I cannot do it in Dutch unless we do. Straight translation in it. There is technology actually that does that right now, and it just puts down the translation while I'm talking. It's almost, it's simultaneously in any language almost that you want. The big languages works perfectly well actually, but it has a lot to do with the pronunciation that I do, which has literally nothing to do with the topic of today. But what's new in in the place. Welcome to the place and welcome to the podcast. Today it is December the 15th. Um, you know, what's new right before the holidays? How is the atmosphere in the Netherlands? Everyone is doing this, right? So I think I had a perfect, when I had a different, I have a different thing on my mind, talk about the place, but then I came up with something, is there a time and a place for crazy people like me who always say, be positive and, and everything will be all right. And all, I mean, dude, is that not at some point in time highly annoying when you get bad news after bad news after bad news, right? You would say, man, I want to throw a rotten tomato at you or something. Can you not shut up with your positive talk the whole time? Um, yeah, well, maybe. Well, we'll hear about that. And then I started to call, of course, this the place, saying, what about being confident in the future? Oh my gosh, now I'm definitely going to shoot you down, right? Someone actually sent me a picture already, a guy from Texas, and he sent me, this is your new gun in Texas. And the gun was, and on the side it had, I don't know how you call it, Hans, but on the side it had the print of Donald Trump, and here he had bullets so you could shoot Donald Trump gun. So people, after I posted this, people started to send me kind of weird messages because, yeah, I have confidence in the future. Really, Jean? Really? Well, of course, I would not be Jean if I would not have a slightly different twist to all that, because what do we have left if we don't have any confidence in the future? But how do you keep confidence in the future if you have actually no clue anymore where all this will go? Normally you come in a certain situation. Let's say you move to a new town, and think, okay, man, that's a little bit, or you take a new job, or you get a little, your health is not doing so well, and maybe you are depressed, maybe even worse than that. But there's always a situation that you can relate to, saying, okay, at some point in time, this will be over. What if you come in a situation that you have heard so many times that this will be over, but that is maybe, I mean, we heard it since in my case, since March 13 of this year. I mean, this is the longest time that I've been in a situation where things are highly uncertain, right? So I can only imagine when I go back to September 1939, that's when World War II started, what people were thinking then. Like, oh my gosh, this will never be over, right? This will be the end of the world. On hindsight, it's always easier to think about, yes, but these things, they go over, right? These things go over. Now, there is now such a thing, you can study that truly in universities. In the past, when you did psychology, you just studied psychology. And a little bit after that, saying, okay, that's maybe too broad of a topic. Maybe we should make some different type of psychology. So you had behavior psychology, or you had other type of psychology. But nowadays you also have a subject that you can study, and it's called happiness psychology. That's seriously true. I mean, you can seriously get your master degree in happiness psychology. I did several courses already, pretty interesting. I'm just always a little bit thinking that it's kind of a funny title, to call yourself, I'm a happy psychologist. Well, do you mean, Jean, that you are happy and you're a psychologist? Or are you a happy psychologist, meaning that you teach other people to be happy? Uh, Actually, yeah, I teach other people to be happy. And Jean, are you always happy yourself? No, not always. Do you think that I really want to learn from you if you're not only happy and you're a happy psychologist? See, it's getting a little bit weird. But there is a Dutch guy who set up a website, and he's a happy psychologist, one of the first. He studied in Maastricht, and he sent really good articles. If you're interested, I'll send you about it. But there's one thing that annoys me always in this happy psychologist is psychology, and I'm not saying that he doesn't do that at all, by the way, but is in modern times is that we have to be happy all the time. If you hear news like you guys heard in the Netherlands that we are going to are in a full lockdown until, what is it, January 19, and I'm talking to, because there are probably also US listeners here as well on Facebook. But in case you don't know what the situation is, just think about it, how it was, at the beginning of COVID-19 here in the United States, when we had to lock down everything. Basically, that same situation repeats itself in the Netherlands, and probably very soon in other countries in the world, right? It is not up to me to decide whether that's the right decision or not. That has nothing to do with me. I can agree with it, I cannot agree with it. But is that the moment when you hear news like that to say, yes, let's all have confidence in the future, right? I mean, that is like, yes, I open my email and that's the email that I want to see. I just had to shut down my business. I had to send an email to my clients. I'm sorry, I cannot visit you. And that sucks for you because you have an ugly face and I want to make you prettier. But it also sucked for me because I don't have any income. But Shaw, we have confidence in the future. Yeah, that's exactly what you want to hear, right? No, of course you don't want to hear that. Of course not. If you go in live and something happens to you, right? Something really bad happens to you. Say your pet dies. Now, God forbid, Dan, that your pet will die soon, but there will be a day, I can guarantee you already, that he will die. Oh no, you cannot talk about that, John, because I have no life anymore when my dog dies. I can tell you already, if that's how you think, don't get a dog. Because most of the time, dogs live shorter than human beings. So you're an idiot if you cannot stand that you will miss your dog. You're not very smart getting a dog. Get a bicycle, because a bicycle can outlive you. Yeah, does that make any sense? Right? So a lot of the things we do to ourselves. So I can reason that really quickly. But this thing we didn't do to ourselves, right? But all these things have something in common when we have bad news. And it could be, making a little bit fun of it because I know the dog is still very young. So hopefully he's go with you for a long time, right? Stuff like that. And that's the same with friendships, and it's the same thing with relationship. Everything is ending in life, and at some point in time you have to deal with that. And if you have goldfish, then it's kind of that's kind of easy, right? Because the first goldfish that dies, that's pretty dramatic, but then the second and the third one already ends up in the toilet. And the first one I remember when we had an aquarium with fish in there, and one died, and my dad said, "Throw it in the toilet." I said, "Oh no, 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 Dad, throw it in the toilet," and the fish died. No, no, we cannot. And he said, "Okay, why don't you bury it in the garden then?" Okay, I buried it in the backyard, and but after the fourth fish, guppy, I thought, you know what? Toilets maybe not such a bad idea. Everything we get used to everything. It's as sad as it is, right? And but we always have to go through, and I do it. I'm not sure if that works well, but I do it. I do it for you, so I have to do it in the other way around, right? This is your starting point, and you always go to some sort of a little valley, right? And then we end up where everything is going to be normal again. Now that valley could be very long, and you could not see where it ends. Now with the guppy, guppy is a Dutch word for that means a while ago since I heard that word. Is that not a long time ago, Hans and Monique, that we heard the word guppy? I mean, it's
Dat
like
klinkt echt heel gek als jij dat zegt.
yeah, it's we used to say that, hey, rare gup, and but we don't say that so much anymore. But anyhow, for the non-Dutch speakers online, guppy is a little fish, and they typically swim in water. All fish swim in water, after all, and they die at some point in time. I mean, the first guppy died in our aquarium. I was very sad, and I had to bury it in the backyard. But by the time the third one died, I put it already, flushed it through the toilet. And I said, "Bye, guppy." And so I did that. I had a little ritual because they die actually quite often, these things. But you go through a certain phase, and people, want to actually jump immediately to the other side and forget that they have to go through that phase. No matter what you do, always think about what I just did. Is you go through a phase. I can post it and draw it for you, but you have to go through that little valley of where you actually start to realize that guppy is not coming back. You have, at some point in time, you have to, do you survive after that? Yeah. That first guppy that died in my life, I thought there's no life after guppy, but I knew there was life after guppy. And the same thing with my first girlfriend. I've always been a little bit an emotional weirdo, I guess, because I remember it was still in elementary school, and I had a girlfriend, and you know how that was in that time, and that's specifically for the young people online. That's maybe another funny thing to do. This is elementary school, right? So you would pass on a little note to a girl, and then you say, if I have to translate, well, let me not translate, let's just do straight translation. Then we would write on the note, "Is it on?" Is it on? Is it on? And then you would hopefully get a note back, a little note, and it says yes. If no, then it's not on. But I was kind of lucky, so I often got the note back that it was on. And nothing happened, by the way, right? Nothing happened. You would not even talk to each other. You would just talk to your little group of boys, and then you would say, "It is on between me and her." You would not go directly talk to the girl, and that is when you had verkering in Dutch. You had, you were dating. Well, I would now say dating someone, but that would not be a good translation, because dating involved a lot of meeting up and stuff like that. But no, I, from a distance, and once in a while you said hi. And in my most romantic thing, I had a picture of myself, and I cut it out in the shape of a harp. Who wants to have a picture in the shape of a heart of Jean? But anyhow, maybe the girl still has it. Who knows, right? And I gave that to her, and then she gave one to me, and oh my gosh! And then one day, who would have known? I have to put in a little music for dramatic effect. I got a note from her, and the note said, "It is," and I do a straight translation just because it's more funny. it is out. So we would translate it's off, but it's out. It is out. You know, it's off. And that was when the relationship was broken. You didn't have to send a message back, message received. That was not part of the rule, but that was the broken. And that girl did that to me. And I just broke in tears in the middle of the classroom. It was horrible. It was one of my horrible moments in life. So I had this full, euphoria going for weeks in telling everyone that it was on with that pretty girl. And then one day I received that message. It was the same thing, small message. And it says, that was the only thing it says. Maybe it was actually for a different boy. I don't know. But I received it and everyone knew, of course, in the classroom, you're the last one to know that it was off, and I was crying, and I was walking back with my best friends. One is actually still a friend of mine. His name is Bas. He's an amazing guitarist, by the way, and he's a rocker, and he lives on a woonboot, on a boat where you can live on. I mean, that's also not a good translation, but I met him years after that, and he's still good friends. But so Bas, me, and Robert, that was we were the three musketeers. We were always together. Robert later became a psychologist, by the way. He walked back, and I was still in tears, and we were like 10 years old, right? And they were already trying to do some happy psychologists with me, right? So they didn't allow me to go through that little valley of despair and anger and what grief and sadness. They wanted me to jump straight to the other side, because they said things like, there are other people, there are other girls in the classroom that like you a lot, and they said there's more in life than girls. So they tried to make me jump all over the thing. And I said, I still remember what I said. I said, yes, but I have no life anymore without her. Seriously, I really thought that. I really thought that. Later, much later, when I had a son, I recognized myself in my son. He was in grief for over a girl for weeks, seriously. And I, at some point in time, say enough is enough, man. But it happened at him in a much younger age, by the way. So I think the apple doesn't fall from the tree in this case. Anyhow, she and I never got back together. We also didn't get married. I don't have kids with her, and so I clearly at some point in time I arrived at the other Hans writes to all you ladies. You ladies, you have to read your chat because it's really funny. It's really funny. But anyhow, so I ended up at the other end of the valley, and to the middle of ladies, I went through many more valleys. But after, it's like Guppy. It's like Guppy. It's not that I flush my ladies through the toilet. That's not what I did. Sometimes I did that in my mind. But I knew that when a relationship was over, then sad as that was, and sometimes I still carry them in my heart, but I knew that something better maybe will be over there. But in the moment that it happened, I thought this will never end. This pain will never, ever end, right? It is, I'm so deep into it, and we never end. So anyhow, not sure if my timing was so elegant to do a topic today about should we have confidence in the future, yes or no? And obviously, my answer is, of course, you should have confidence in the future. Of course, you should have confidence in the future. There's no such thing as you have no future anymore. It's just different. So how does it come that we actually lose sometimes confidence in the future, or think that the grief is so big that we don't see that future? Well, there are times that you just don't want to think about the future for a moment, and that's good. That's really good. If your Guppy died for the first time, you need a few moments, right? And the first time it was an hour or two, and the second time it was 6 seconds, right? But you always need a little bit time to grieve. And I'm not the one to tell you how long that is. But you need to have someone beside you that says, and it could be in the form of therapy, and it could be in the form of coaching, or that could be just in the form of, someone that trusts you and say, enough is enough, right? We had enough grief. Yeah, there is time, by the way, to always go back to that valley and visit it, right? Because the view in the valley is sometimes much nicer than the view of on a mountaintop, right? I used to hike a lot in Austria, and they always talk about how great it is on the mountaintops. I can tell you, on the mountaintops, it's freaking cold. There are no trees. It's often much nicer in the valley. So I don't know why people always talk about that we have to go out of the valley and to the mountaintop, because then we are at the top of our lives, right? But anyhow, that's another thing that has nothing to do with what I'm talking right now. I'm just saying, hey, there are times that you just don't want to hear those positive talks. You don't want to hear happy psychologists. You don't want to hear coaches that want to tell you that the future is always bright, and you don't want to hear that. You just want to sulk. In English, you just want to sit a little bit in your. You want to mope. You want to complain. You want to yell. You want to cry. You want to kill a cat. Don't do that for real, but something like that. You want to smash a plate, and that is really fine, right? Everything in an appropriate way, of course, but you have to learn that along the way, right? For me, my life ended with my first hub, and I thought I never would be in a steady relationship at the age of 10 already. But a lot of things happened until now. And if I look at better hindsight, most of the situations, how serious they ever were, and some of them were actually pretty serious. I just take really light ones. But if you know just a little bit about my life, I went through pretty big hardships. But maybe, in a few years, is it what? Compared to COVID, this was nothing. Like, people who lived through World War II. Said, what? You guys, you think you have a hard time? You never ate a bloom ball, which is not good for English people to hear, but it is like one of those flower bulbs. And Dutch eat them. We have a special day that we eat them every year to remind us of World War II. No, we don't do that, by the way. We don't do that, but we remind the stories, and it's a true story. We have in the Netherlands. My parents grew up in the tropics. They had a little bit longer war than World War II, but anyhow, they all went through hardships, right? If I can only imagine, my dad was put in a concentration camp with Japanese people. I cannot even imagine how that is, right? I mean, it sounds almost like an adventure, right? But he still, was able to raise a family, and he's now 96 years old and stuff like that. So I think history gives us a really good indication that bad things in the end will end, right? Let's take it that way. Yeah, let's take it that way. We have to at least acknowledge that. I just don't know how, and I just acknowledge that at some point in time, you just need to take time for yourself, your friends, and your family to just sulk a little bit and just complain about it. Yell at someone, yell at your government, yell at whoever, yell at your coach, yell at your best friend, whoever it is. That's a really healthy thing to do, right? So if that's type of complaining, I have no problem with it, right? Even if it's a little bit disrespectful. If we start to do stupid things, then it starts to be, a little bit harder for me. Just today, by the way, one of our good friends was hospitalized because of COVID-19. So people who saying this is not so serious and we need to turn off our 5G telephone, you can shove them in the sea for me, right? At the moment that I hear that. Of course, that is not Shah. Shah always try to understand even the one that he doesn't want to understand. But can you understand the emotion that I have when I just found out that a family that we are close to, that COVID was in that family? We were worried. I mean, but we all think about, okay, maybe it's okay, right? And then we found out that the husband is hospitalized because he cannot breathe really well. Now, hopefully we'll be all okay. But that's really not the moment that I want to hear someone talking about 5G, right? That is like, what? Seriously? It's time that you get a family member or a close family member that is going to put in a hospital. Let's see how you think then, right? Of course, that's not a nice thought, but I have those thoughts too. Does that make sense? Right? So if you have those emotions still, please have them. Just make sure that you have some sort of a safe for yourself, some sort of a fallback. If you know yourself well, that you know that you can snap yourself out of it, nothing is wrong, right? I know from myself that I have those moments that I'm angry, I'm even unreasonable. I don't want to understand other people. I don't want to be empathic at that moment. I don't want to be a nice coach. I don't want to have understanding for other people. I just want to call you an idiot because actually you are an idiot, right? That's just what I want to do sometimes. But of course, in our work and creating a better world, heal the world, make it a better place. Of course, we need to, of course, look in the mirror and change ourselves first, right? Okay, we all know that, but not today, maybe, right? But, let's go a little bit now to the real matter of the case, right? Because what do we link our confidence to? We often link our confidence to the wrong things, right? In this case, the confidence in the future, in this case, where there is a bright future, we connect it to things that we are familiar with and comfortable with. We have a job, we have a relationship, and if you think about it, we connect it a lot with outside things. Not so smart, because you see how quickly they can change, and sometimes if they change for bad, the bad can stay for a pretty long time. Who knows how long? So in the US tomorrow, the first vaccinations will be sent out, right? There's a lot of discussion out of it. Is that can we trust the vaccination? They are not there yet for the regular population like me. Why not me? And then you say, why first the most important people? And then I read about, okay, we're not so sure about these vaccinations. Oh, great thing that the other ones have it first, right? So my emotions go like left and right. And then we found that again, the Chinese, can you believe it? Again, the Chinese, they put out a vaccination and it's not really a good one. Oh, see, I told you already, these Chinese, you cannot trust them. So, of course, I think those things too. Right? I do think those things too. So we go through uncertain times. We start to blame people that absolutely don't deserve. We should never talk in words like those Chinese, but I do it too, right? Same thing. So don't beat yourself up if you have those thoughts. Just know of yourself that there will be a time that you snap out of it. And if not, try to build in things that will help you. The place could be one of the things, right? Your friend, your husband, could be one of the people that help you to snap out of your own misery, right? That's a general thing you should already do even before all this craziness. Does that make sense? So indeed, because we link our confidence typically to the things that are outside us. And the things that you should link your confidence on is, of course, on yourself, on your own skills, and your own knowledge and your own flexibility. The reason why I am pretty confident is that I am pretty resilient, right? I've been a fighter and I only don't stand up if you kill me. That's how I was trained. So long as I stand up, you have an enemy right in front of you. Seriously, I might miss one arm and I might miss an eye, right? But as long as I stand up, you have, and you can always. So you need to learn how to rely on your own skills, on your own thing, right? Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, right? That's fully understood, but maybe we need to, at least start a discussion there. You need to create something different than we did in the past. I've been a coach for a long time, and typically I talk people out of misery, and then we have a plan and we can start with it next week, right? But next week is very uncertain, but we still need to work with some sort of a vision. Now, when I went to business school, we always talked about 5 years visions and 5 years marketing plan and 5 years business plan. By the time that I actually start to work in corporate organization, had the level to make those plans, they became 3 years plan. And some they became 1 year's plan. And if you work in an American corporation, it becomes a 3 months plan, right? Very short planning, but we call them still strategic, right? We had strategic planning. Well, maybe we need to think about a little bit bigger picture of life again. right? And not so much about 5 years. Maybe you need to think about, okay, what is it that actually I want truly from my life? And is that dependent or independent of the circumstances that I live in? Right. So that's not an easy question. That's not a question that you can answer right now unless you already thought about it and you wanted to share it with us. And don't come to me with, I want to be happy. Right? Because that's a choice no matter what's happening. Your hubby died, your first love broke up with you. So you need to think maybe a little bit, what do I truly want from my life? And if you're not in that situation, get your ass off the couch and start do something about it. No matter what circumstances you are in, right? Seriously true. We are often too much caught up in our head. And I understand because when that news came in yesterday, I talked to several people. First of all, my family, obviously. When the news came in the Netherlands, everyone sits in their head. Of course, that's very normal. But think about the people who have a harder time mentally. They are always in their head. They never do things. That's the problem. You can still do things. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, because you're still in your yelling and burying your happy face, right? But there needs to be a time that action and movement always, beats any time that you mope. And mope just means complaining, and mope just being in your head, right? Seriously true. If you don't know what to do, clean your house. I can guarantee you that moving your body, doing stuff will always get you out of misery. Always. No matter how worse your situation is. If you don't believe me, just try it out because you're already in misery. So you might as well try it out, right? And think about it like this, right? We think that we don't know how to deal with situations that are completely unpredictable. We think that we have never been through that because, after all, we have not been through a World War II or something. But we get into our car mostly every day or on a bicycle in the Netherlands. There's nothing more unpredictable than being in traffic. The first time that you go in your car, I don't know if you remember that, unless you are a boy who drove on a motor, on a, how do you call that, a brommer, a scooter, we were like crazy. We didn't want to see any danger. But I remember the first time that I drove in a car after a severe car accident, and I was I was scared to death. I spent a month in the hospital. I spent 2 months after that because I couldn't do anything. And then I got back into a car, not because I wanted to. I didn't want to drive a car at all anymore. But my dad said, you know what, let's go somewhere together and, get you a little bit out of your funk. I said, cool. And he handed me over the car keys. He said, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to drive a car. He said, well, yeah, you're going to drive a car. And my dad is a pretty convincing man. So I ended up driving that car, and it was worse than my first driver's lesson. I was in total fear because I wrecked the car and myself completely, and that fear was really real. And I started to argue with my dad. You don't know how it is after an accident. I said, no. He said, I don't know how it is after driving a car in an accident. I just know that you used to know how to drive a car, and the traffic has not that changed that much, right? So go and drive that car. So I drove that car. But the thing is, with traffic, you never know what's going on. And the thing with good drivers is they anticipate really well. And one of the reasons why we have more accidents nowadays is because we anticipate less, because we're more on our phone than watching what's really going on out there, right? So we're getting a little bit too much in our head again. Do you see there's a link between those two things? So we know, actually, we have skills that we can leverage on and say, and that's what my dad did. He said, Jean, you already drove a car. It's a different car. It's my car, but you know how to drive a car. So we already have skills that we can leverage to deal with uncertain situations, right? There's no way we can predict traffic. I know some of you at least took a long trip to France and to other places, and I remember when my parents drove us to Spain for the first time. That was back in 1967. Can you imagine, right? When we drove, there were no highways. It was completely unpredictable. There was no GPS. There was nothing of all that, right? And still we did it because my dad knows, I know, and there's a lot of things that I don't know, but a lot of things that I do know, and I can leverage those skills. And the more often we did it, the more confident we became to it. So that's where I want to leave you guys for today, is saying, yes, of course, there is time where we need to mope and sulk and complain and all the kind of things. But at some point in time, and maybe before COVID-19, you were already in a situation that is similar to what I've described, you just need to step up and say, hey, I'm going to just, what can I work on today? Always. I can always work on my own skills. What can you do? What's the other thing you need to do? You can, that's, you know, that's my thing always to come back to. You can always help someone else. You can always help someone else, right? There's nothing easier for us to help the family that is now in despair, just to write them a message. Hey, we're going to Kroger, which is a supermarket here. Do you guys need someone? Do you guys need something? And they said, yeah, it would be great if you bring us some pasta. Okay, we'll pick up some pasta for you guys. There's nothing better than that. You know, there's always something you can do for something else, right? Does that make sense? If you operate with those two things, you know, you will see that these things go much faster over than you think. And in some cases, you just have to be super resilient. That's just what it is. And hopefully you have a surrounding where people support you in doing that. It could be, life can be completely hard. And people like me who always say, you know, believe in yourself and change your mind and your life will change. And all that kind of stuff could be highly annoying. I totally agree. I can be highly annoying. but that's just what it is. All right, you guys, if you have any questions about this topic on Facebook, then that would be a really good time to let me know right now, right? In the meantime, I'm going to check the chat in here, see if oh, Hans, I'm so sorry. You're not on with the girls. I'm really sorry, but we continue the discussion a little bit here on Zoom, and then for all you other people on Facebook, I'll see you and hear you next week. All right, bye bye. Forgot how to close Facebook.